This is going to be a long video because the season finale of The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power Season 1 has dropped on Amazon Prime Video. Yes, the entire first season of this hit show is now available to watch all the way through. So now I talk about the finale with all the spoilers. That is a spoiler warning. I have so much to say about this episode because it was just jam-packed with all sorts of stuff, bomb drops, revelations, just awesome things that happen. And I'm going to be talking about all of it, so if you have not watched this entire season by now, and you plan on it, you should turn around and take another trail. If you have seen this finale or you don't care, first of all, you should care because this show is awesome. But if you don't care or you have seen this episode, stick around, let's talk about this. Alright, first of all, I'm going to touch on the things that this finale did not touch on. Like, for example, the dwarves and their Balrog, they're not seen at all in this finale. So I guess the penultimate episode, episode 7, was the finale for them. Their big season cliffhanger is that they have a Balrog, which is cool, and I love that cliffhanger. I guess we'll see what happens with them next season. Also, the Southlanders, Theo, Bronwyn, Arondir, the refugees of that whole battle, they're not seen in this finale. It is good to know that Bronwyn and Arondir are alive, though. I forgot to mention that last week. Because Arondir is still a badass, so I'm glad he's around still. So we'll see them next season. Lastly, the fact that Isildur is still thought dead. Again, we all know he's not dead. But now the fact is that Miriel and Elendil and all the Númenóreans, they're going back to Númenor, while Isildur is still in Middle-earth. So I guess next season we'll see how Isildur copes in Middle-earth. I am looking forward to seeing that. And the eventual revelation, because I assume he's going to want to sail back to Númenor. So I imagine he'll show up there and be like, hey guys, guess what? I'm alive. I assume that'll be in Season 2. But on that, let's talk about what is in this episode, starting with the Númenóreans. First of all, we see Eärien again. She's checking up on the dying king, Miriel's father, when all of a sudden he goes nuts. He's like, you will be queen one day, here, come see. And so Eärien discovers the Palantir. We remember Miriel showed Galadriel that in episode 4. And so Eärien discovers the thing, but we never see what happens from there. That's the last we see of it in this season, so that's another cliffhanger. We'll have to wonder for a while what she saw. I'm so curious. Did she see that her father will eventually become king? Maybe. I don't know. But yeah, speaking of, I like that scene with Elendil and Miriel on the ship, where they're talking, and it's a really intimate scene. Elendil is pretty much reassuring her that everything's gonna be okay. And I like this scene for a couple of reasons. One, I'm thinking there might be a spark of romance there, which I wouldn't hate. I mean, they're both awesome characters, and they're both attractive, objectively speaking. If the two of them do end up falling in love, that would mean that Elendil would become king that way. If they get married, that is, but I can see that being how Elendil becomes king of men. For now, that's just a theory, but again, I wouldn't be opposed to that. But yeah, Miriel's father, who might as well be called the Mad King, he dies. You see all the black flags and it's really somber. That scene was pretty well done. And I guess that's where we leave Númenor for the season, with a dead king and a blind queen, which again, I still find so interesting. I wonder if Miriel's gonna become like another blind badass up in the ranks of Daredevil, Toph Beifong, and Kanan Jarrus. That'd be great. I mean, she's a queen, so she's already halfway there. If she can throw down while blind, I'll be like, I love you. I'm just saying, I have a type, and that type is blind badasses. So I guess we'll see. Alright, jumping over to the Greenwood, which we know will eventually become Mirkwood.
Greenwood is sick, Gandalf.
We have the stranger wandering around, and this is actually how the episode starts. He's found by those evil bitches, and they're like, we found you, Sauron. And I'm like, oh shit, he's Sauron. Yeah, they got me for a few seconds there. And so they're showing him a few things, kind of rejogging his memory in a sense. But then he's rescued by the Harfoots, Nori, Poppy, Marigold, and Sadoc. But then again, they end up fighting these evil bitches, and I'm like, you guys are all gonna die. But then the stranger, who appears to be talking really fluently now, he takes that staff and he's like, go back to the shadow. I was like, it's Gandalf! They even say, they're like, oh, that's not Sauron. And it was in that moment that they knew they fucked up. They call him the Istar. He's like, I'm good. And then he blasts them away with that burst of light. They're all dead now, and I'm like, Gandalf's a badass. And yeah, who are we kidding? That is Gandalf. We know that now like 100%. Or at least 99.9%. There's a chance he could be Saruman. What we know for certain is that he is one of the Istari, one of the wizards. Which I know in actual Tolkien lore that the wizards aren't supposed to show up in Middle-earth until the Third Age. To which I will tell everyone what I tell anyone. This is an adaptation, people! They're gonna change some shit. I know the show is boasting that it's very accurate to lore, and for the most part it really is, from what I've seen. but it's still gonna take some liberties here and there. That doesn't make it bad. I mean, adaptation, it's literally in the word. It's adapting, it's changing to fit this narrative. That's what matters, the story that this is telling. And I think it's a damn good story. Yeah, this is pretty much Gandalf's origin. And I thought it was pretty fucking cool. Although Sadok Burrows dies. That's sad. His death scene is actually pretty nice. He's like, the missus will be waiting. I was like, aw, that's so sweet. And so they all watch the sun rise and he just passes away. Happy trails, Sadok Burrows. We wait for you. And so now Gandalf is off to the land of Rhûn, which is far to the east. I think even more east than Mordor. Because those evil bitches are like, you have to go to Rhûn to find out more about yourself. And so that's where he's off to. And the Harfoots decide to let Nori go with him, and oh man, these goodbyes. I actually love this story decision. Yeah, Nori is the curious adventurer type. She's like the Bilbo Baggins of her time, I guess. She wants to go on this adventure. And so she says goodbye to her family. That shot's really good. And then she says goodbye to Poppy, and I was like, alright. Cards on the table, the way Poppy is talking to her, she's like, you're my favorite person in this whole wild world. I'd do anything for you. The people I love the most, they always have to go away. Bear with me on this, but I was also like, there could be a spark of romance there as well. Maybe, possibly. I don't know for sure, I'm just thinking out loud. Again, I wouldn't be opposed to it because they're really sweet. That thought just came into my head. I don't know. Maybe I'm completely wrong. I wouldn't be opposed to that either. Only time will tell. And so, they are off. Gandalf and Nori are off to the land of Rhûn. They are going on an adventure. The road goes ever on and on. I love that line that Gandalf says. He's like, alone it's a journey, adventures, they must be shared. I was like, ooh, I'm writing that down. I feel like every episode of this show from now on is gonna have at least one memorable quote. I'll have to keep my ears peeled. I mean, then there's the part where he turns to Nori and he's like, when in doubt, always follow your nose. And I was like, alright, that's Gandalf. Cue Ian McKellen.
If you die, always follow your nose.
Nice bit of fan service to let us know for sure that, yes, this is Gandalf. Awesome. And so off they go. Till our next meeting. Alright. Now jumping over to Eregion. Oh yeah. We're here now. Elrond is back, Galadriel is back with Halbrand, and they're like, alright, we got the Mithril, let's save the elven race. Let's forge something, and we have the scene with Halbrand and Celebrimbor, and this is where he pretty much convinces him by talking about smithing terminology. This is where he convinces him to forge something by combining metals, and I was like, Halbrand is Sauron! Because I know that in the lore, it is said that it was Sauron who tricked Celebrimbor into forging the rings. I knew that, so this scene, when it happened, I was like, oh shit. And so they begin forging. And I was like, oh my god, they are forging the great rings. This is it. This is how it begins. Cue Cate Blanchett.
It began with the forging of the great rings.
Yeah, you said it. And now we're here. And so while the forging is going down, Galadriel goes over here because she's like, Halbrand is suspicious. She has that scroll with the lineage of the Southlanders royalty. She throws it down. She's like, tell me who you really are. And I was like, aw man, here comes the revelation. Here we go. And yeah, now we have this whole scene where it is revealed that Halbrand is Sauron. And he reveals everything, his motivation, his plan, what he's been up to for the past few centuries. And he even tries to convince Galadriel to join him because he's like, you showed me mercy. You showed me that the past doesn't matter. We can rule Middle-earth together. Awesome shot where we see that reflection in the water of that possible future, the Sauron in his crown and Galadriel by his side. I was like, holy shit. And of course I noticed when he's trying to convince her, he's like, you will be a queen, stronger than the foundations of the earth. I was like, the quote, stronger than the foundations of the earth. That's interesting. It shows that in Fellowship of the Ring, Galadriel, I guess, still has, in the tiniest recesses of her mind, that temptation. That's really cool, and actually, that makes Galadriel a more interesting character to me. She does kind of sort of have that conflict in her mind, but she pushes it down because she knows what's right. And that's why she's a badass, man. She even tells him, she's like, I will never join you. Because you don't see a difference between ruling Middle-earth and saving it. I was like, yeah, that tracks. And so she goes back to Celebrimbor and Elrond, who are still forging. Halbrand/Sauron, he's gone at this point. And Galadriel's like, alright, we have to make 3 now. Cause 1 will conquer, 2 will divide, but with 3, there is balance. I was like, yeah, that makes sense. But then she says the powers we forge today must be for the elves alone, and no other race. Well, that shit won't stick. We know that there'll be more rings for the dwarves and for the race of men, and of course eventually the 1 ring to rule them all. But for now, we're just forging the 3 elven rings. And yeah, here we go, we're forging them. Celebrimbor's like, in order for these rings to be truly powerful, we need gold and silver from Valinor. And we see Galadriel take out her brother Finrod's dagger. I was like, oh, so you're telling me that the 3 elven rings of power are now going to have some emotional weight behind them? That is fantastic. It's genius. Because we know that that dagger, it has that emotional weight. Galadriel feeling the loss of her brother, which pretty much kickstarted this entire story. And now all of that emotional weight is going into these 3 super important rings. That's awesome. Although we do see Elrond goes down there because he's suspicious of Galadriel, and he finds that scroll, and he's like, oh shit. So now he knows that Halbrand was not as he appeared. However, by the time he gets back up there, it's too late. The rings have been forged. And man, they are beautiful too, I'll tell ya. These are the 3 elven rings of power. From what I know from the Lord of the Rings movies, one of them goes to Galadriel, another one goes to Elrond, and the third one ends up going to Gandalf, actually. That's what I know from the movies. The lore could be completely different. That I don't know. But yeah, I love how these rings look, and I like the fact that they all look different. They all have different designs, they all have different hues. They're separate and unique, and quite exquisite. And so this is where this first season ends. The 3 elven rings of power have been forged as the Dark Lord Sauron arrives in the land of Mordor. Ooh boy, things are heating up. I'm also going to talk about that song that plays over the credits, Where the Shadows Lie, sung by Fiona Apple. Man, oh man, my jaw was on the floor listening to that because it's those old poems. 3 rings for the elven kings under the sky, and it goes on from there. In the land of Mordor where the shadows lie. And then it goes to the inscription on the one ring to rule them all, 1 ring to find them, 1 ring to bring them all and in the darkness bind them. I was like, holy shit, this. I'm still listening to Bear McCreary's soundtrack. Seriously, dude, all sorts of props to your score, Mr. McCreary. My god, these themes, Galadriel's theme, Nori's theme, the Numenor theme, that's probably my favorite so far. Sauron has a theme, Khazad-dûm has a theme, everything has a theme. That's how Lord of the Rings should be. God, I love it. So, in conclusion, The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power Season 1 is officially over. It's awesome. I love returning to Middle-earth. I'll say it's not a completely perfect first season. There are a couple of story arcs early on where I was like, alright, I feel like I should care about this a little more than I do. Again, the show is still trying to find its footing. But like I predicted in the season's final leg, it really picked up, got into high gear, and delivered a solid finale. And my friends, this is just Chapter 1. We got a second season confirmed and shooting right now, actually. Woo! Can't wait! But after that, to my knowledge, nothing's confirmed yet. Maybe they don't plan future seasons out this far ahead. But as far as I know, I think they're still going for a 5-season story. And yeah, I want to see it all unfold. By the time the show is done, I want to have had made videos on each and every single episode. Cause I'm dedicated, I'm devoted, I love Middle-earth, I love this show, I love everything about it. The visual effects, yes, but also the story, the characters, the score, the camera work. This show feels like Lord of the Rings. I can't ask for much more than that, and it delivered. And so, now we wait for Season 2. So, The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power, Season 1, Episode 8, Alloyed. Have you watched it yet? What are your thoughts on it? What was your favorite episode of this entire season? Who's your favorite character? What's your favorite musical theme? And what are your theories and predictions for Season 2? Whatever you think, go ahead and leave a comment. Let's talk about this. And of course, thank you for subscribing. Peace!